Yeah,
That's okay.
I would say for me is definitely Ed Milet is number one. I mean, I've listened to him for 7 years, and he exemplifies a lot of what I do. I feel like he's like a very, very structured, good business guy, but he also cares a lot about his family, his faith, and he's very like, he just cares a lot. It's funny because I feel like I am more like Grant, and I want to be more like Ed. Like I'd rather be more like Ed, and that is more of like the way that I want to be. But I feel like I automatically, my default is for me to be more like Grant, more like assertive, more like confrontational, and like that's my go-to. But it's not who I want to be. That's like I don't want to be that guy. But I would say Ed Milet is definitely very influential, dude. The funny thing is, and I'm not just saying that because you're the interviewer, but your dad, Nate Mosley, was very influential in my life, and yeah, when I was 18, jeez,
Good.
when I was 18, I was struggling with like my faith, and I just remember asking a lot of hard questions. And he was like one of the few people that was like willing to answer some hard questions. Most people are like, oh man, you just got to have faith and blind faith and all this stuff. But wow, he was actually like there to like be like, no, like here's some different thoughts and some different ways, and really help me work through it. It's like, dude, faith is not an illogical thing. Like it does make sense, and here's a different way to think about it. And he was really there and like actually willing to answer questions. And like I don't think that I would have came to faith without God putting him in my life. So yeah, I would say that he is definitely very, very influential. And man, number 3, those are the first 2 that come to mind. They were like huge. I would say those are the 2 big ones. I mean, obviously, like Tony said, there's a lot of other people that influence Grant Cardone, all those different Rich Dad, Poor Dad, so Robert Kiyosaki. I mean, all the people that I listen to, Bigger Pockets, all of that stuff. I mean, obviously, real estate's changed a lot of my life as well, and where we're at today. I mean, when I watched Grant Cardone, literally on that Undercover Billionaire, that was a show that he did, and then he started hiring people, and that was what like initiated the thought as well. And then Ryan Pineda, I mean, we basically modeled our business off of Ryan Pineda, so he's been a huge influence. So yeah, I would say that just like Tony, the last one is a huge combination of a lot of different people that is kind of like helped with the business mindset. But Ed helps with relationships, with like managing everything, and then Nate really helped me with my faith, and then everybody else is kind of mixture that I just learned from to help me with sales and with business and with all that other stuff.
I got some honorable mentions here too.
Okay.
Andrew Huberman's pretty awesome. I love a lot of his stuff. David Goggins, whenever I need that push to get out of bed in the morning, or like to get down in that cold water. And then for a female influence, I'd say Marie Forleo for a minute. Like right after her 10X, I started watching all of her stuff. She has some really great things to say. And then Jesse Itzler, he just puts things in such a way that like they're so relatable, because he seems so like kind-hearted, genuine. He's like wealthy and funny about his wealth too. Like he's just all over the place, charismatic guy, but also he can like get you to go to that place where you're like, oh shit, I forgot what's important. Let me remember real quick. So
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then kind of like going off of that, obviously, like, the people that are influential to you guys in your past have got you to like where you're at now. Going back to that, when people like you get looked up to them, or they give you all this advice and different things like that, how do you know what to do with what the other person says to you? Like, what made you guys like take action on all those mentors and people you guys looked up to from like the beginning to like, what made you like, what was that like moment where you're just like, here's like the switch, or like, here's I'm gonna take that next step to like implement these things into my life that like I'm trying to figure out or like get to?
I think it comes from doing, because like Dakota came to me back in high school and was like, hey man, I want to like build some muscle and stuff. I was like, here's this workout that I gave to like 4 other people and they all quit. They were like, yeah, screw that, dude. That sucks. I'm not doing that for very long. Dakota did it for like 2 months and put on like 10 pounds real quick because his body wasn't used to that amount of volume, and he hadn't really done strength training and stuff before. And so, like you said, like the people who helped us get to where we're at, it's like, man, I don't know. I think we got to where we're at because we did the work.
Correct.
And we allowed them to kind of like help us make adjustments to the ship, just like Jay Redding, one of our mentors, talks about like it's a lot easier to help somebody steer a ship if it's already moving. If it's not moving, then like they're just kind of wasting their own time. They're wasting your time.
Right.
Like mindset without skill set is delusion. If they're doing
100%.
nothing, then
Yeah, I would say for me, I always just run it through a filter. Like, okay, this person's telling me they have their own baggage, their own things, they have their own successes, and what is it that they're telling me here? So then I just run it through me. Okay, where am I going? What am I trying to accomplish? Is it similar to what they're trying to accomplish? If they said this was what worked for them and they're where I want to be at, then I'm like, okay, what are the steps that they took to get there? And is that a life that I want to live in that area? And then I basically put it through that filter of like, what do I want for my life? And that's the most important question that you have to ask yourself first before you ever decide like, okay, I'm going to take this advice, be like, okay, where they're at, is that where I want to be at as well in that area? And so that's what I always think that I run the filter through is like, okay, is this true? Is this actually going to help me? Is this what helped them? Is that where I want to be at? And I just kind of run it through all of those different filters in my life and make sure that it's like aligning with who I am and where I want to go, because that's what I see a lot of other people do too is they see a goal, they see something that they want, they go out, they get it, and then it was like never who they were or what they wanted, or it went against their values. I see a lot of people who chase money and it goes against their values in order to get it, and then they lost who they were, and then they end up depressed. It's like, dude, if you have to go against your values in order to get something that you want, it's not worth it. And so ask yourself that. I remember I was actually just listening to another guy that talked at a small event that I was at, and I heard the guy, and he was talking about I thought that he was talking about his partner and how he's like, yeah, I have friends, and then I kind of took advantage of this guy. Like he was kind of like bragging about it. I found out that that was not what he was saying, but I thought that was what he was saying, and I was like, dude, at that point I almost checked out because I'm like, dude, our values don't align. Like you value that money, that other stuff more than you value or you value money more than you value your friendships and all that stuff. So then I can't align. I can't listen as much unless I align with their values and with what they're saying about it. So like, if they're giving me business advice and they're willing to screw people over and stuff, I'm like, dude, I'm just not willing to do that. So I would say first, before you ever like take advice or anything, go deep down and say, okay, what is important to me? What are my values? And like order them. And I know this is a thing that they do in NLP is they literally order the values. What's number one? What's number two? What's number three? Like put them in order of importance. And then if you ever like, and I think money is important, but it's like, I would consider money one of the values, but money is never over truth. Money is never over ethics. Money is like, and you guys have seen that, which is why we've done well. It's never over our word. It's never over anything like that. So I would like align those things, find out what it is, and then like take the advice and filter it through who you guys are.
Definitely.
100%.
What's funny too is like the people who I like idolized, there was never anybody who I was like, oh, I want their life.
Right.
Like, I like the lead singer of Slipknot. I did not want to like that was like so cool to me from like, senior year to like freshman of college. I was like, I want to be a rock star. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, that is not the life that I want actually. And then you look at people like Jordan Peterson, like that guy is depressed. He helps so many people, but like he's got the same vices as a lot of like really great psychiatrists, psychologists throughout history, where like the reason why he's so good at it is because he's had to live with himself for so long. He's got a lot going on. I don't want to be him. I don't want to be Elliot Hulse. I don't even think I really want to be Ryan Pineda. Like I don't know if I want 14 companies like he's got doing all the different things that he's doing. Well, I was thinking about it though, and I was like, who would I want to be like? Guy that I didn't mention is Chris Crone. I like his setup because he's like, I work 20 to 30 hours, and he talks about how he maximizes his schedule. So he's all about looking at partnerships, he has franchises, he's got a jet, he can go anywhere in the world that he wants to. He's homeschooling his kids. He basically took his values and then was like, okay, stop my business, put the brakes on everything, shut everything down. I want to create the life that I want. How can I do that? And he like reverse organized everything. So as I was just thinking about it, Chris Crone says
he talks about leasing everything too. Like
he sleeps like midnight to 4 a.m. every day, but that is crazy. Like, he does get to maximize his life then. Like, if he's only working 20 to 30 hours a week, then he really does spend like 6 hours with his kids every day.
Yeah.
He really does spend like 2 hours in the gym.
Yeah, I saw that reel that he posted of him talking about his like daily routine and schedule. But I like him too because he just seems super down to earth. He's like very real about like here's what you can do, or like he's very realistic what he's like putting out there on social media from what I've seen. But like going off of what you guys said, one thing that I struggled with like when I started or like getting into stuff is like when somebody would tell me something, I thought whatever advice they were giving me is like I had to take their advice and believe every single thing they said, and I tried taking what they told me and like doing exactly what they said instead of like I was getting the wrong the advice from like the wrong people of like the answer that I was looking for, like the direction I was wanting to go. And like I don't think until I started like getting up here and getting around my uncle and other people, and I kind of started that entrepreneurial journey, I was just taking advice or asking the wrong people that have never done it. And then I was like, you know, like questioning myself of like, what do they know? Or like, I was just so confused. So I think that has definitely helped like all of us from being up here, just like getting advice from the right people that care about you, that want you to succeed, and that have already experienced and done it. And like I was trying to get advice from people that haven't done it, and like they were the answer instead of like you said, have that filter. Like listen to what they're saying, and then like you know if it doesn't align with your goals or values, then like you don't need to listen to that or take their advice. But if it's going to align with your values or like what you're kind of looking for, then you can have that conversation deeper.